What's up, everybody? We are inside of Green Goliath here with you for the first time ever, our inaugural show. And, of course, I'm Dan Tortora, the host of Superpowered Pop. And joining me co-hosting is Rob Stacy, who's going to be here with us every single month, talking about a bunch of different topics that connect right back to everything he has here in the store. You can come visit Green Goliath on 219 County Route 57 in Phoenix, New York, inside of the Three Rivers Plaza, and you can call them to get more information about what they have in stock and what you're looking for by calling 315-561-6123. That's 315-561-6123. Today's show topic is going to be The Mandalorian. We are 2 seasons in, and there's so much to talk about with Disney Plus's really first show that's their original. We're starting off The Mandalorian with talking about the look of the show. Is it aesthetically pleasing? And we'll go from there into, does it truly feel like watching Star Wars? So once again, Dan Tortora here of Superpowered Pop, joining forces with Rob Stacy of Green Goliath. We're here on 219 County Route 57 in Phoenix, New York, in the Three Rivers Plaza. We have all this stuff behind us. You can see that Boba Fett's up there. We got a Porg up there as well, Stormtrooper, and of course the Childs, and a small version of the Child here. I'm gonna bring that right up to the camera so you can see that. The Child himself here with us. And you can obviously get the pop figures here. All types of pop figures from all around, really any universe. And before we talk about the look of the Mandalorian show, I mean, you're the home of rare pops.
That's
here in Central New York.
What we specialize in. Basically, if you can't find it, we'll find it for you. We have probably 2,500 or so pops on premises. And I have another 2,500 in storage. So there's always something that I can find you. And if I don't have it, I'll get it.
What makes you decide what gets to come out here?
I basically decide by what I like.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's things that, people are always asking for. So I try to cater to, the customers that come in all the time asking. But I also, go by what I like. It is basically how I roll.
Yeah, so I mean, you have so much stuff here when it comes to Star Wars and The Mandalorian. There's a lot of great stuff, and the reality of it all is it's while supplies last. So the things that I'm looking at that are awesome here, they may not be here forever. That's why you got to get out here and get your Mandalorian stuff.
That's right. So, not just Mandalorian stuff. We have exclusives, all the way from Hot Topic exclusives all the way up to, rare Comic-Con exclusives,
I've gotten a lot of stuff from you, whether it's a Target exclusive, a Hot Topic one, an LA Comic-Con.
Yeah, we try to make sure we have something for everybody.
They definitely do. So we're here talking about The Mandalorian. Like I said, ton of stuff in the store for you to get. You can see some of the stuff behind us, and you can see the Child is actually hanging out with us. And we're in season 2. The Mandalorian Mando was letting everybody take care of the kid, and now Rob and I have the kid. We're babysitting for a little bit. So
that's funny.
What do you think about he just kind of dropped him off and said, "Hey, I'll be back at some point." What do you think about the look of the show? Does it feel like it's part of the Star Wars universe? What do you think about the actual look of the show?
I really think they killed it. I think they knocked it out of the park. Not only does it feel like a movie, but also you get to basically watch a movie every hour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It feels like, most of those shows that they're doing right now aren't continuations, so it kind of wraps up in a nice little bow at the end of each story, basically. So I think they do well with telling that story in the timeline that they do.
Yeah, I think what it is they essentially give you, like you said, when you watch an hour, you feel like you're watching a movie, and they're all connected, but when you watch it, you don't you don't feel. I mean, you know something might be coming next, but there's a finality to each show in a way.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
You know, and it's. I mean, I think it looks great. I think the one thing you and I talked about off the air is that when you do so good with like the initial, and there's sometimes drop off. And I think that season 1 looked good and season 2 looks better, which speaks a lot to the entire crew that's working on The Mandalorian, that I think season 2 actually looks better than season 1.
I think so too. I think they did. It's magical. Like I don't know how they're going to top season 2.
The Star Wars wipe that they always have, like that transition's pretty cool.
I mean, but then sometimes that's where the lull comes in.
Yeah.
You know, once you introduce all the, you know, I obviously I'm jumping ahead, but the Luke Skywalkers and the Boba Fetts, I mean,
yes.
Then you start getting into the newer characters where sometimes not everybody loves.
Yeah, you know, and it's people have different likes and dislikes for it, but I think the look of the show itself is it grabs you, it brings you in, and I think for non-Star Wars fans, they can maybe almost get into this. And when you watch The Mandalorian, I could tell you that it, at least from my point of view, it makes me feel like if you've never watched Star Wars before, you can still get into the show.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. It definitely gives you a starting point where you could begin with The Mandalorian and go backwards into the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it kind of fills you in backwards and forwards.
I mean, you can have minimal knowledge of Star Wars and still feel like you're not lost.
Yeah, I think that's why it's so popular.
Yeah.
I really do.
Because I know the people that read, my cousins growing up, Nico and Miguel, shout out to them. They're like little brothers to me. They would bring the books over to my grandma's house, called her G-Mama, and they would bring them over to her house, and they had these like thick, like social studies Star Wars books, and they would read you this history as if it was real.
Yeah.
And I mean, they knew all the planets, everything that was on the planets. And when I didn't know something, they're like, "Really? You didn't know that this alien exists on this planet in this soul?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" Right. So some people are like devout.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's what's kept it going since '77.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I personally remember seeing the first Star Wars in Bayberry Theater with my mom. That's old. That's how old I am.
How old were you?
I had to be 3 or 4.
Okay, fair enough.
But I do remember going and seeing it.
Yeah,
and I think it was $1.
The first, this is not the same, but my dad was like never really into Star Wars, so my first the first thing that I remember really seeing was I was 7 and I saw Jurassic Park at the Hollywood Theater.
Yeah.
And that was nuts because the bathroom looked like a velociraptor had actually been in there. I hope it's better now. So that's the look of the show. We got plenty more to come. Our next topic here is Jon Favreau and his work on The Mandalorian, how he brought this all to life. We know Jon Favreau from a lot of different things. We know him from Couples Retreat. We know him from being Happy Hogan and Iron Man. He's been all over the place, and now he is the one, the man behind the music of The Mandalorian, and now Rob and I are going to discuss our thoughts on him. Jon Favreau. We know him as a jerk in some of the movies. We know in Couples Retreat, he is a cheating husband. We know that in Iron Man, he's Happy Hogan that warms up to Spider-Man, Tom Holland eventually. And so there's all these different pieces of Jon Favreau because he's been in so many different movies, and he's been behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. In this, I mean, him helming The Mandalorian and being behind The Mandalorian, I think he's solidified himself as one of the greatest human beings ever. Because if you get Star Wars behind you, that's billions of people that's behind you.
Well, it's not just Star Wars, but Marvel too.
Yeah.
It's like the 1-2 punch, I think.
And from Happy Hogan to the Mandalorian. I mean, we talked about the look and different things, but knowing that Jon Favreau was given the keys to this, what does that mean to you? Because think about it, Iron Man was the first project with Marvel Studios.
Yeah.
So
it kind of lit everything
right.
up, right?
And
right
if it didn't work, think about it, if it didn't work, then we don't have the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
No, not at all.
And so if you're Jon Favreau and they say, you get to be behind Iron Man, and that started off the Marvel Cinematic Universe that makes billions on top of billions. And now they say to him, okay, Disney Plus, you get to start off our first big show, and you get to work in the Star Wars universe, and you get to make The Mandalorian.
But he's like, I did Iron Man.
I mean,
how can I go wrong?
How good? I mean, Disney getting him. I mean, just thinking about, he's the one that started the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and now he's the one that's starting the Mandalorian universe, which is now spinning off into Ahsoka Tano. It's spinning off into Boba Fett. Now there's all these other shows coming from it. In all honesty, Jon Favreau is responsible for Star Wars and Marvel in the current world having their universe.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, obviously Stan Lee, developed all the characters, but as far as cinematic goes, I mean, he couldn't have done a better job. I think he really, I mean, as far as, not only casting and the energy of the movies, I mean, and trying to stay true to the actual comic books and kind of, bring, the flair of a movie also. I think he did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I mean, I think to be somebody that gets to work on any one of the Marvel franchises and Star Wars, one or the other, to know that he essentially he started off the Disney Plus platform and he started off the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, I don't think you become more valuable to Disney than that.
No.
Like, not, I don't. If I'm Jon Favreau right now, like you were like you were the jerk in all the movies, and now you're like the. Now
he's taking it to the bank.
Yeah, you're the king after playing like the scumbag. You like husband. Now you're like the guy. So, shout out to Jon Favreau, who it's just
home run after home run.
And I mean, and it's the thing is, he's not just good at what he touches. If he didn't do what he did to Iron Man, we don't have all these other characters, and now we don't have these other Star Wars shows coming to Disney Plus without Jon Favreau.
Fair enough.
Like he's the man that didn't just do a good job. He's like a really good coach. It's like he's not just winning games. He has a coaching tree of all these other coaches that are now winning.
That's true.
So,
but it's kind of, well, yeah. I guess that's the best way to look at it.
He's like the Nick Saban of the MCU and Star Wars.
Nick Saban of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, he's like the Belichick. You know what I mean? It's like,
thank you.
Yeah. I mean,
I wouldn't say Belichick though. I mean, without Brady, he didn't do much this year.
Well, you could say that Jon Favreau without Robert Downey Jr.
That's what I'm saying. So that of course they got to bring him back, right?
And if Robert Downey Jr. makes over $50 million a movie, then what is Jon Favreau making to helm all this stuff?
I don't know.
Hopefully they take care of him.
I'm sure he's fine.
Probably get some like Mickey premiums for half off at Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
$2.50 instead of $5.
Sure.
Something like that.
Get a free room at the castle.
Yeah, maybe Jon Favreau is one of the 5 people that can sleep in the castle.
There you go. Yeah.
I think they'll leave the light on for him, which is Motel 6. But I think that's a little bit different than Disney. But yeah, Jon Favreau, I think it's safe to say that you are definitely the man that brought all of these characters to the live action life.
It works.
Our next topic here in our conversation on The Mandalorian inside of Green Goliath Toys and Games on 219 County Route 57 in Phoenix, New York, is to speak on the fact that it is not, spoiler alert, you should know by now, but I'll 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now that I've counted you down from 10, I'm going to say it. It's not Baby Yoda. It's Grogu. What do we think about Grogu and his place in the Star Wars universe? Our next piece here is finding out that Baby Yoda is not Baby Yoda. The name of the child is actually Grogu, and the one that tells us this, that knows him because the Jedi are connected by the Force, Ahsoka Tano knows that that is his name, and she said when you want him to do something, when she's talking to Mando, she said, hey, you got to call him by Grogu, and every time he does, the baby, so what do you think about the fact that this is not Yoda? This is Grogu.
I think everybody who knows Star Wars at all knew that it wasn't Yoda.
Yeah.
But what else were you going to call him?
Or maybe you thought Yoda got down and had a baby,
Well, yeah, I did actually think that for like a split second. Then I thought back to how old he was and when Yoda died. Yeah. And I just didn't see it was possible.
So we have Grogu, which means that he is now of the same species of Yoda. And yet, I mean, we knew Yoda as kind of like that was it. It was like he was the Jedi of his species. And now we know that Grogu is, and maybe there's more. And with the institution of Grogu into the Star Wars universe, it's safe to say that I would like to think that he's going to have a role somewhere now. You don't just bring in a character that you rope an entire show around to do nothing with him. So is it safe to say we're probably going to see him on the big screen?
I would think so. I mean, it seems to me like they're setting up for him to have some sort of mean tendency, maybe. Maybe not completely on the wrong side of the Force, but maybe somewhere in between.
Like an evil Yoda.
Like an evil Yoda, yeah.
So that's interesting.
That's how I feel like that's how they're setting that up.
But knowing that he's going to learn from Luke Skywalker, it's like Luke learned from Yoda, and now Luke will teach Grogu.
Yeah, but it's the good, then bad, then good, then bad scenario.
Yeah, so you think that Grogu might be corrupted?
I think so, because they were kind of hinting towards that. Because they didn't, at first they didn't even want to try to train him.
Yeah.
So I think that was like sort of the inkling that they might push him towards maybe the darker side, just to keep it interesting.
So the question is, if we learn about Yoda, obviously from episodes 4, 5, and 6, then we went back to 1, 2, and 3, and now we had 7, 8, and 9. Where is Grogu?
Grogu, they didn't answer that question. I believe this is taking place after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, so if it's somewhere within this, then that means he's living somewhere in the universe, and we're going to obviously see him more grown up.
Yeah.
We're going to get it seems like from Mandalorian, we're going to have such a lengthy back origin story of him that he's either going to be really good or really evil when we see them again.
I think so. And he's going to be eating a lot of eggs still.
In episode 10. And where do all of these species go in his body? Like, does he inherit their powers? I mean, I don't understand kind of what's going on.
He certainly does eat a lot for being so small.
He's very hungry all the time. And, I think that, this back, and like you said, bringing in the fact that, Ahsoka Tano said, he's emotionally attached to you. Yeah. And with the emotion, we don't want to train him because it could corrupt him in the Force. That's saying everything said in Marvel or Star Wars, there's the word, if the is used instead of and, if or is there instead of but, it has a meaning.
Definitely.
So if we're hearing about he could be corrupted, emotional, we've seen other people like this in the Force.
Yeah.
We're building the fact that he is going to be powerful. He could be evil at some point, but we're going to meet And, everybody that mourns the death of Yoda, we're going to meet Grogu again, and we don't know how, but could he essentially be setting up for the next trilogy to be all about him?
Hopefully.
At
least a part of it.
I mean, it's his travels are going to be so interesting.
But are they going to include Luke Skywalker?
Right.
That's a good question.
How are we going to see him again? Will we see him kind of like Groot? Will we see teenage Grogu, old Grogu? We've already seen baby Grogu. So where is this going to kind of fit? But I can only imagine Jon Favreau and how smart he is, and he's already helped start the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that this character is going to play a very, very large role, and I would imagine that eventually at some point he will reconnect with Mando.
He's got to. And
maybe Mando's the one that's going to bring him out of his evil,
I think
because
so.
It's his father, essentially.
There you go. It all ties in.
We own the rights to that story.
Yeah.
So
that's right. Jon Favreau.
Yeah, call me.
Hook us up.
Yeah, hook us up. You got enough money. You could take care of it. You know what? Happy Hogan, just remember, I want my cheeseburgers. So that's all you need to know. Next up on our topics here that Rob Stacy and myself, Dan Tortora, will be discussing of Green Goliath and Superpowered Pop coming together here for the Superpowered Goliath of a show that you get every single month, is seeing Ahsoka Tano jump from Star Wars, The Clone Wars, into live action, and how we feel Rosario Dawson has brought this beloved character to life. Ahsoka Tano comes to us in Star Wars The Clone Wars, which was a CGI show created and obviously not live action.
No.
Learning about these characters like Ahsoka Tano brought us to her in a way that was far different than how we had other characters brought to us, like Princess Leia, like Han Solo, like Chewbacca, as well as C-3PO, R2-D2, Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, and company. We met them in live action. We met her as a computer cartoon, but now we're seeing her jump and make this leap that is so unique to go from Star Wars The Clone Wars, which is considered canon in the Star Wars universe, and to make that leap off of that and into live action, which is a continuation of her story from CGI to live action. What do you think about the fact that Ahsoka Tano essentially bridges the gap of cartoon to live action, and that the story of her is the same throughout, even though this is the first time we're seeing her in live action form?
Well, I mean, we've seen it before. I mean, with Harley Quinn and Batman, they basically did the same thing.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not unheard of. But as far as Star Wars, yeah, of course, it's the first time they've done that. I think she's a great character.
You've been watching Star Wars: The Clone Wars, so what do you think about her story?
I think that I don't know what to. I mean, she's back and forth. She's quit. She's joined. She's quit. She's a leader. She's a quitter. She's a leader. I don't know. I'm not sure where she's going to end up.
Her training. What does that mean to you?
Meaning that she's learned basically from a young Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So maybe she also has picked up some of those tendencies, maybe.
So learning from Anakin Skywalker, this being his, Padawan,
Yeah.
I mean, what does that do for the story of her now that we've seen her? We know that when we meet her in Mandalorian Season 2, she's fighting for good, and she's a Jedi, but obviously she learned from what became bad.
That's true. But, I mean, in the Clone Wars, Anakin's very off the cuff. He's very, sporadic on, and they have shown that he does have a mean tendency.
Right.
And he's not afraid to kill, even in the cartoon. So, I mean, that's going to play a role in probably her, her future in the movies also, and the shows.
Her wielding the white dual lightsaber. Yeah, what do you think about all
It's
that?
cool. I think it's awesome. I mean, the dual lightsabers are always, they look cool on TV.
You know, she has one in each hand, but just to bring it back to the evil side for a second, just because nothing's done on accident, the other dual lightsaber wielding were connected to each other and they were red was Darth Maul.
That's right.
Do you ever feel any connection there? No, not really.
I mean, they show them fighting together, but maybe there might be a end around there somewhere. But
Yeah, but
I haven't seen it yet. I'm on season 7, so
yeah, but seeing their seeing the fact that she can wield both of these, you know, lightsabers essentially. I mean, this is showing just how advanced to have one and be able to know what to do with it says something. But for her to have two at a time and be able to fight with them is really showing her strength in the Jedi group and the fact that she is not only a Jedi, but she is a very advanced and skillful Jedi in the group.
that is true. So maybe, I mean, as far as bringing her into the live action with the Mandalorian, hopefully, I mean, obviously she's been with Grogu already.
Yeah.
So hopefully she will be able to see the tendencies, you know, being a Padawan of, you know, the old Big D.
Here's a thought. Luke comes from Darth Vader, comes from Anakin.
Yeah.
So Luke trains Grogu, but he has a dark tendency. The dark tendency of Luke mixed with the dark tendency of Grogu puts Grogu in a state where he doesn't know what to do. Ahsoka Tano says to Mando, what I told you was going to happen happens, and she goes and gets Mando, and then she goes to essentially maybe fight Grogu and Luke, because maybe there's more to Luke's story that we don't know, because he shows up in The Mandalorian Season 2 darkly cloaked.
Yeah, I just don't... It was very exciting to see him come in and just kill a bunch of robots and just whoop some ass. But on the flip side, I hope they do a better job with the CGI.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I don't think anybody's figured out like the young version CGI. It looks really cheap.
I mean, it was a little cheesy looking, but it was very exciting for him to be there.
Yeah.
For sure. But as far as hopefully on the next phase, they can figure out, I mean, not just for Mandalorian, but for all movies.
Yeah.
How to get that younger CGI looking look.
It makes it. I mean, the mouth never seems to link up to the words.
Yeah, not ever. It's more like a cartoon kind of.
It's more like a Godzilla film.
Yeah, for sure.
It makes you feel like you know it's not real,
Yeah.
and you kind of have to just go with it. I mean, you're happy to see Luke, but you don't want him to talk.
Yeah,
Basically.
fair enough.
So happy to have Ahsoka Tano here, and that leads us into it. You know, Luke Skywalker, which we'll talk about in a second. Another spoiler alert that I feel I have to say, but most of you Star Wars fans have watched this. Sometimes people are watching these. We kind of wait until they're all out, right?
Yeah.
We kind of just wait until the whole thing's out, and then we watch them in a bunch. But I'll do it again for those of you that haven't seen it all yet. 10-9-8-7-6-5-4-3-2-1. Luke Skywalker. Who is that person? You know, who is the Jedi? Essentially, it doesn't have to be a person. Could be any Jedi. But who is the Jedi that when Grogu was sitting on top of that rock, that he was channeling through the Force? We find out that it's none other than the green lightsaber wielding Luke Skywalker.
Very exciting.
And he coming into this show. Folks, what does that do to make it a real moment in Star Wars history and following us in this canon story that Luke Skywalker is the one that takes Grogu? We know that Luke has learned from Yoda, but now that he has Grogu, what does that mean for the rest of the Star Wars universe? So we kind of just discussed it, but Luke Skywalker is the one that is sent to rescue Grogu when Grogu is sitting atop the rock, and Boba Fett comes into connection with Mando when Grogu is here, and they're trying to leave, and all of the dark troopers are essentially coming here and eventually take Grogu away. He's able to get into the Force, and he's able to channel and shoot that beam up into the sky, and he's able to speak with someone. The one who answers the call is Luke Skywalker. And the final piece of Season 2 is Luke coming to rescue, or coming to find Grogu and take him away. And we learn that eventually he's able to leave the Mandalorian and go with Luke Skywalker. We talked about it a little bit in the last set, but your overall thoughts on that scene and the fact that of all the Jedi that could have answered the call, that it was Luke.
I kind of feel like it had to be Luke. I mean, really, who else could it be?
Right.
You know what I mean? They were kind of building it up to that big, big entrance, like something was gonna happen. You know what I mean? So it had to be Luke Skywalker. But on the flip, you didn't know that for sure, so it was pretty exciting for him to show up.
Seeing his fight scene, it brings me back to, and I know it's totally different, but when Netflix had Daredevil, and they had that one scene in the hallway where it's like 13 minutes of him kicking everyone's butt, and then we see the Punisher when he's in jail and he's just going up and down, the cell block, so to speak. We see Luke be that really, bad mother you-know-what in this scene, and he has no trouble taking care of business. What did you think about the Luke scene of essentially, looking like he was in practice with these troopers?
Yeah, and they showed how tough they were. Before the Mandalorians really couldn't handle even one. You know what I mean? So for him to come through and just murk them all like it was easy peasy. Just shows that he is at the point where he's like mid form, so it's going to be pretty exciting to see going forward how he's going to not only take and teach Grogu, but also where they're going to go with the series.
We met Luke in the first trilogy, 4, 5, and 6. We met his daddy in 1, 2, and 3, and then we met him again in 7, 8, and 9. What do you think they can do with him now? Because obviously that's him with Grogu is an untold story. Do they do that in the cinematic universe, or do they somehow find the money to give to, having this story run on Disney Plus?
I just don't. I don't see how they can. I don't know. Do you think? I don't know if they're going to continue with another Luke Skywalker story. Do you?
I feel like at this point it's we thought we knew mostly everything about him, but now there's this entire journey, and whatever happens to Grogu is somehow in part connected to him.
That is fair. But I mean, are they going to cast another person for that and try to spin forward?
Here's the thing, though: is Luke, and this brings us outside of the Mandalorian, but it's in the Star Wars universe, which we're all connected. Is Luke truly gone?
No. Nobody's ever truly gone.
So when he disappears into this, is he a ghost now? Is his spirit? Is he found? Whatever it may be. I mean, is Luke dead?
I mean, are you saying at the end of the movies, or
like at the end of what we've seen in the newest trilogy, 7, 8, 9?
Yeah, he's standing with the rest of the ghosts.
Yeah,
he's a dead man.
So the only way to tell his story is to go somewhere in the middle of everything.
But how do they do that?
Do they do a 2-hour movie like they did Solo, like they did Rogue One, where it's just 2 hours of Luke's adventure with Grogu and somehow losing him or handing him off or something? Is
it all going to be CGI? I mean, that just doesn't feel like it'd be comfortable for 2 hours.
Right. Or do you try to, have old man Luke...
That's what I'm saying.
Come back and
go through the phases and make him look young, like like they do in all the other shows.
Yeah, I mean,
that are very
you call up Mark and say, hey, we need you to do another one the way that you are, and we're going to have flashbacks of you training Grogu. I mean, at some point, they're gonna have to CGI old Luke Skywalker.
Or they're going to have to recast. Blasphemy.
Mr. Hamill, you can't do that. You can't do it to Princess Leia. You can't recast Carrie Fisher. So.
But eventually, what are they going to do? Are they just going to end
they're going to have to catch on to new people.
All right. That's what I'm saying. Are they going to end all that whole storyline?
I think they need to bring Darth Maul back, like not just in Solo. I think we need to see because Darth Maul, for the people that Clone Wars and all that, I mean, he comes back. He's not dead.
Yeah, so. He is the bad Link. You know what I mean? He's that in between bad guy link between the death of Vader and then moving forward.
Yeah, like we see his body gets cut, but obviously he's found. They put him onto like a mechanical piece, and he just kind of continues on his story. And I mean, to me, Darth Maul was misused in the sense that we saw him once and never again, and then Solo brought us backward and we got to see him. But I just feel like Darth Maul he should not be gone from the movies.
No, they're gonna bring him back.
And maybe that's the Ahsoka show. Maybe we get to see Darth Maul in that.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you call back the awesome actor that also played Toad in X-Men to do that. For those that don't know, our final piece is coming up next. And the final one that I have to spoiler alert, I feel, you know what? You count it down this time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I like Rob's way. I do it from 10. He does it from 5. He's like, screw it. We're only giving you 5 here.
We're getting 5.
The Book of Boba Fett. Right at the end of Mandalorian Season 2, we see that extra scene that we expect from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it pops out with Boba Fett sitting on his throne, and we know that the Book of Boba Fett is coming up next, which will be with us before we have Season 3 of The Mandalorian. What are we excited about with that? We'll talk about that as our final piece of our special on The Mandalorian, right here with you from Green Goliath Toys and Games on 219 County Route 57 in Phoenix, New York, in the Three Rivers Plaza. We're excited about all that is to come, and the great thing about it is the topics we discuss, we have all of your collectibles here, your toys and games and everything. When it comes to the stuff we're talking about, it's in the store, so you can love the show, but then you can come buy the merchandise here.
Perfect.
And you have some really, really cool Star Wars connected Mandalorian universe stuff.
That I do.
So we'll be discussing that as our final piece here from Green Goliath in Super. Final piece, the Book of Boba Fett. First and foremost, do we know that he can write?
Write?
Yeah, if it's the Book of Boba Fett, do we even know that he's capable of writing?
Yeah, he's probably got a ghostwriter for sure.
He probably has a ghostwriter. Maybe it's Meek Mill or Drake. I don't know, because somebody's ghostwriting.
For sure.
But at the end of this, first and foremost, we get to see Boba Fett. What did you think about the fact that he came back, he donned his gear, and we got to really see a story within a story, because when he appeared in The Mandalorian Season 2, it almost felt like at times we were living through his eyes a little bit.
Well, people don't really realize when Boba Fett really died. I mean, he died so long ago in the movies that people don't really even realize he's been dead that long. I mean, he's been in a lot of different spin-offs and they've done a lot of different things, but he's been dead for years and years and years as far as Star Wars goes. Yeah. So to bring him back is just it was insane. It was like,
yeah. And to see him, and I mean, the cool thing about it is, there's busts of him that you can get. I mean, a place like yours would be perfect to have something like that.
Oh, absolutely. We got tons of Boba Fett stuff. I got from Pops all the way up to the old Shogun Warriors. We have tons of Boba Fett stuff.
And what do you think about the fact that we're going to essentially read the Book of Boba Fett, which I think will read like a black book, but instead of having people to call to go on dates with, it's going to be, you know, probably who he's murdered. So, to be the murder book of Boba Fett.
Well, it's exciting to see what happened after, you know, Jabba the Hutt did get, you know, taken out by old, you know, Princess Leia. So that's how far back this spins.
Yeah.
This spins all the way back to the original 3 movies. That's how far back, you know, Boba Fett coming back to life basically spins. So for people like my age, it was unbelievable to see him back on and alive in the show and in the movies. You know,
and to really just bring all of this together, it's like we you know get to see the Mandalorian, and we get to hear about that this is the way and their code and everything. We get deeper into that. We get deeper into their armor. We get deeper into like how their money value is essentially what they wear.
For sure.
And then Ahsoka Tano comes in. Then Grogu comes in. Then Luke Skywalker comes in. Then Boba Fett comes in. Like we're essentially having all of these different pieces of Star Wars collide, which almost makes it feel like, you know, how do you even create the time? Because we saw these things at different times growing up, and then now that the timeline is obviously different, and the first 3 were 4, 5, and 6, and then 1, 2, and 3, and then the Clone Wars, like everything coming together in season 2 of The Mandalorian really just kind of, I mean, like you did, it makes your brain kind of just explode of how the heck, because we met these characters at all different times in our lives, because they were created at different times, to see them all together is very surreal, and it's almost kind of like earth-shattering, like how can these all be together?
Yes, it makes it makes you have to think back exactly to your childhood, basically.
Yeah.
So it literally is pulling you right back into when you were a kid. So for like the older generation, I don't want to say older, but 40s.
Yeah.
All right.
The original Star Wars.
The original Star Wars.
The OG Star Wars fans.
The OG Star Wars fans.
You're one of them. You're an OG Star Wars.
I am.
Yeah.
I've seen, I saw them all, you know, at the theater. So
yeah.
To think back and to bring it all forward and tie it in, it hopefully can only get better, for sure.
Yeah, the Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian Season 3. And where in the hell is Grogu? All of this stuff is going to come up. I think that we should do a show that is centered on Grogu, and it's only through him not speaking words, just making noises. We should do that. I always thought that they should do like just a droid planet one and just have, you know, just have them all talking to each other like that the whole time. Like WALL-E, but Star Wars. So, with that being said, this is Superpowered Pop meets Green Goliath, the superpowered Goliath that you have here with you every single month, exclusively on superpoweredpop.com, also through our social media channels at superpoweredpop on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and of course on our channel on YouTube, and through Green Goliath Toys and Games. You could find us on their social media as well. And of course, you can come here for all your Mandalorian, Star Wars, and merchandise galore of any group that's in pop culture. And when it comes to Funko Pops, speaking of pop, it doesn't get more rare than right here on 219 County Route 57 in Phoenix, New York, in the Three Rivers Plaza. And if you want to know exactly what they have, you can call Mr. Stacy here at 315-561-6123. That's 315-561-6123. In the meantime, stay here with us, find us on our social media, come into the store and shop, and we'll be back again with plenty to talk about. Shout out once again to Jon Favreau. They told us if we said the name one more time, we'd get some type of royalty money.
Perfect.
And big shout out to Mando. You took the helmet off multiple times.
Yeah.
So he did it, and you know, it happens. But he did it for his kid, and we'll eventually see them together again, I'm sure. So with that being said, for Rob and myself, Dan, we'll talk with you soon.